Hi there, Mike Hill. Welcome to another Sunday message. It's a little bit late today. It's Sunday, but it's coming up to 10 o'clock at night. Just to explain, I've been doing some family history, and so I went up to Moffat, which is a very old market town, not very big at all, just across the border into Scotland. So if you go from Birmingham up the M6, A74 to Beatock, turn right, a couple of miles and you come to Moffat. And my dad was born in Moffat, and his dad, that'd be my granddad, was called Robert Simon Hill, and he was a head teacher, headmaster of Moffat Academy, and he taught botany, plants, but he was also interested in biology, like frogs and things like that. He was also a champion amateur golfer, Moffat Golf Club, and I don't know, 12 years he won the club championship. It's a one match a year. Everybody in the club takes part, and the winner is the one who gets the lowest score. And according to the history book produced about Moffat Golf Club, he got, I think it was a 70. Now I played that golf course for 2 weeks. I don't know how he did it in 70, but he did, and he won the thing for like 12 years. Anyway, my granddad, Botany Bob, seemed to disappear. He retired, moved down to south, to Chichester in Sussex. Well, that's where my dad was living before the war. He learned to fly. So the wonderful internet, we find a picture of the plane that my dad learned to fly in and passed his testing. 1935. So anyway, what's this got to do with a Sunday message? Well, I went up Friday, drove off up there, forecast was bad, and I got there Friday night, set up late afternoon, set up my tent. There was a big circus tent, 50 foot behind my tent, with disco music, boom, boom, boom. Oh, we had a barking dog in the next tent, yap, 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 yap. And we also had a group of people who were attending the motor car rally for this last weekend, and they were having a barbecue and the smoke was going across the campsite. So I sat there on the Friday evening thinking, oh, this isn't good. I had some cards made that I was going to give out. So the next day, Saturday, I went to see the cars. The weather wasn't very good. It was showery, but it was all right, but not many people turned up. I went and delivered my cards. I went into Moffat Museum. Got waylaid by this lady who kept asking me questions, and I was just a bit annoyed, I'm sorry, but they didn't know who Botany Bob was. This, key figure in the history of Moffat, and the museum, didn't know about him. Now, before I went to Moffat, the local paper put an article about me looking for my granddad, and as a result I had a phone call from a lady who lived in Moffat, and also had an email from my dad's sister's daughter, so my cousin. So that was good. She knows where my granddad, Botany Bob, died. Now, the weather was awful, and so Saturday evening I'm in the Moffat Park, sitting under this big tree, like a fir tree, like a Christmas tree, but very thick, and it's got seats around it, and I'm sitting in this seat looking at the lake, the boating lake, and the rain's coming down. And I got all melancholy because that's where my dad lived, and he'd been dead since 1987, and he didn't know God. he said to me once, the only time he spoke about God, that God, he saw him as an old man sitting on a throne in heaven, grey beard and that. I suppose a bit like Moses is portrayed. And so anyway, I started to cry. And I thought, I just felt absolutely, why was I there? That's what I thought. What was I doing? In Moffat, okay, family history, it's good for the kids to know where they come from. But no one else was really interested, and the weather was awful. So anyway, I did a bit of shopping, went back to the tent, had something to eat, got in my tent and slept through the night. It was cold, so I've had 2 bad nights in a tent, and I'm not feeling very good. So it was awful, and I'm sitting in my car to get warm. I thought, well, I'm going to sit in the car, I can't cope with this. I'll get out of the tent, sit in the car, turn the radio on, and there was a programme about a bloke called Schumacher, not the Grand Prix driver, not Formula 1, but a chap 100 years or something ago, and he preached about small is good, not big is good. So in other words, he used an example where people wanted an egg box, and the only machine they could buy cost a fortune, and it made like 1 million egg boxes a month. But this is the bloke who wanted the egg boxes, he said, we don't do 1 million a year. So they made their own little egg box machine. It didn't cost much, and it made as many boxes as they wanted. So this is people doing something for themselves, and instead of buying what Big Brother says you need, they made their own. So it went on to talk about this Schumacher. He was a philosopher, nothing to do with Jesus, and he was saying, because philosophers and that have like a friends of the earth type thing, and he said that people do 2 things for a living. They work and they do a job. And many people, the work that they would do would be fulfilling, develop themselves, please other people, do something for the community, whatever. The job tended to be screw this, nail this. And I was thinking, I was an apprentice toolmaker. I did 47.5 hours a week. So that was 5 days plus half day Saturday. And my first job, there was a tray with some holes in and little cast valves. And I had to take a valve, drop it into a drill a hole, take it out and put it into an empty hole in a rack this size. So, next one. And I had to do 3 a minute. 47.5 hours a week. Now, when this tray was full up, this one was empty. So put the empty one there and start on the next one. When it got down, someone topped it up. So, 3 of these a minute, 47.5 hours a week. I did that for 8 months. That's job. Okay, that's a job. Now, if I was learning to be a toolmaker, that should have been work. At the end of the 8 months, they got me onto a milling machine where I had to put a big casting in a jig, lock it, had 4 slots, and I had to start the machine, and a cutter went through it and back, and turn it round, did the next one, turn it round. I did that for 8 months. Now, what's that got to do with being a disciple of Jesus? Well, something in me from the age of 4 involved Jesus, and it's been a big problem to me all my life, because in me I punish myself because I don't think I'm preaching the gospel enough. I don't think I'm telling people who I meet in the street, give them a card. Have you ever wondered what the gospel of Jesus Christ was? We'll read this. And I don't. Now, I've preached on the streets, I've sung on the streets, I've knocked on people's doors, gone up high-rise flats, I've gone into churches, I've preached in churches. They would give me an address and I'd go Sunday evening or Sunday morning and take a service in a strange church, people I don't know. So I've done all that, but my way of life, coping with my ex-wife's suicide and hatred of the children, and also looking after the children because I couldn't go to work. Anyway, the Christian church didn't give me anything to do either, so I was at home with nothing to do except keep the children safe. Sure, there were years of fighting in the courts and trying to protect the children and myself, because there was a lot of people wanting to hurt us, and many of them were Christians. And it was while I was doing that I realised that the Lord had set me aside to be a witness for Him. Now, to be a witness for Jesus is to show people Jesus living in you. It's not about preaching. So, when I can, I share Jesus. When I can't, I work on my website. But in between, I watch sport on the telly, I go for a holiday, I do several things. And I get this sort of overriding, am I doing enough? And while I was at Moffat, sitting under this tree with a raincoat, that's how I felt. Am I doing enough? Am I wasting my time tracing my family? And the thought came to me that, the dead are gone. I don't know whether my dad went to heaven or hell. Same with my mum. I don't know about my brother-in-law. I don't know whether my brother and sister. But when I tried to talk to my dad, he didn't want to know. When I tried to talk to my brother-in-law, he didn't want to know. When I spoke to my mum, she didn't want to know. I used to visit every fortnight. I used to go there, give them a chance to talk to me. And, never did. I used to go to the churches and the leaders, they never either. So I think that, this is my ministry. So through the internet is my main ministry. But I also now, I did it in Moffat, I put cards through Christian shop stores and churches and that, because I'm promoting union with Christ. Now, to promote union with Christ to unsaved people, or people without a Christian, it's difficult. But the people who go to church should understand. But this is where I'm going to finish, because as I listen to Schumacher talking about work and a job, I really do feel, I'm not saying I'm right, but I feel that a lot of Christians are doing a job. They're doing a job. So they say, I'm a Christian, I go to church or not, doesn't matter, but they're doing a job. Whereas the disciple of Jesus, being a Christian, is work. So me doing this does me more good than doing a job. So I live in relative comfort. I get help from the state because I couldn't work. But all I'm trying to say is, I'm a disciple of Jesus. I've believed in Him. He came into my life first. And I've walked through these many years, 63 years, 64 years, it's a long time. And what I'm trying to say is, every now and again, I think I'm not doing enough. But like the Apostle Paul, I don't judge myself anymore. I don't judge other people. Let them worry about what they're doing, and let the Holy Spirit impress on them whether they're right or wrong. I'll do my bit to rebuke them or to point out their error of the ways or to try and encourage them. But I just do the work that God has for me. And I believe that the work he has for me is to challenge the Christian denominations in this world to get back into union with Christ. Because the work of God, the Creator, is not to preach, not to read the Bible and point and say you're no good. It's about the salvation of lost souls. So if I'm claiming that Jesus lives in me because that's what he promised, and that his Father comes and makes his home with me, because that's what Jesus promised, and if the Holy Spirit has come into my life because that's what Jesus promised, then what people must see is me going around and doing my Father's business, which is trying to save souls. And I really believe that our churches are full, not totally, but full of lost souls. God bless.